Thank you so much, Roger. And I thank Steve too, who sang so well. The last time I stood here and spoke, he sang as well. Let's make a habit of this one, in case there is the next time for me. Today's sermon is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to be preaching. I will just show you some pictures. About 3 months ago, we had the privilege of visiting the Holy Land. We are visiting Israel. And for us, it was a surreal feeling, knowing that you are walking where Jesus walked, and knowing you are on the Sea of Galilee where Jesus was, seeing the Jordan River where Christ was baptized. We were united, and it's something that I couldn't explain by words how we felt when we were there. So I'm going to show you some pictures. Don't expect professional photography, nice pictures and things of that sort. It's not. This is just iPhone pictures we have taken, and we've only chosen about less than 1% of all the pictures we have taken to show to you. Some of you who have been there know. I know at least one person from here has been there. I think Robert and his wife were there. And for them, it will be a review, I am sure, because they have seen it. All right, we're back here. This is what we saw the first time we arrived in Tel Aviv, Israel. This is the picture we had, the very first picture we had taken. It was taken from our hotel. In the background, you can see Mediterranean Sea right there, and you can also see a mosque right in there. Unexpectedly, the mosque is overseen. Israel is an absolutely beautiful country, and we love Israel very, very much. Tel Aviv is also beautiful. It's only about 120 years old, but it is really, really ultra-modern city. This is Jaffa, the port of Jaffa. It has been in existence for 4,000 years. It's been seaport, the oldest continually inhabited seaport in the world, 4,000 years. And the guy, this gentleman, who is an Israeli, he told us he doesn't think it looked like this always, but it has changed a great deal. And also told us that Jaffa, he asked us, do you know after whom it was named Jaffa? I didn't know, I had no idea. He said, do you know Noah? Do you know the story of Noah and the flood? Yes. And he said, you remember he has 3 sons, Ham, Sem, Japheth? He said Jaffa was named after Noah's 3rd son. That was interesting. This is Caesarea. Caesarea is a city that was built by Herod the Great in honor of his emperor Augustus Caesar. It was ultra-modern at the time. It was a beautiful seaport. And Caesarea was also, they told us, was where Saul was converted to Christianity and became Christian as he was going to Damascus. It's in ruin, but it is absolutely wonderful ruin. Let me see. And here you see King Herod built Caesarea for his honor, the honor of his emperor. He also built, you remember, the temple for the Jewish. He wanted to please the Jewish, he wanted to please the emperor. Okay, so he built for the Jewish the second temple, and he built for his Caesar, Caesarea, a beautiful city at the time. Caesarea also had idol worship places. Whereas in Jerusalem, they had the temple that he had built. He wanted to please God. Herod the Great himself was not a Jewish, we were told. Herod the Great was not a Jewish himself. He was a Bedouin. He was an Arab who was converted into a Jewish faith at the time. So this is some of the structures in ruin that is still standing. This thing is going without my control. I'm not controlling it. Okay, there's the sword. Let me go next. Okay, this one is, I bet you know it. What, do you recognize it? What is Paul, Robert? Huh? Bahai, but this is the city. Haifa. This is the. Let's go. Okay, this is Haifa seaport. It's ultra modern, very, very nice. And this is the Baha'i faith. I don't know how many of you know Baha'i faith. I really don't have much knowledge of it. I know it exists. That's but they have a very, very, very beautiful garden, a very beautiful shrine for the people who with the Baha'i faith. And this city, Haifa, is very close to Lebanon, where I went to college, where I went to school. But you cannot go from one side to the other side because of they were at war, and they're still at war technically. That one is the world, the city, the one you see. I don't know if I can show you. That big building is the Baha'i World headquarters. You can see it another vision. And this is Mount Carmel. Remember Mount Carmel? Remember Elijah and Jezebel? What they were doing on that Mount Carmel? So the Baha'i Faith shrine is just underneath that place. And up on top of Mount Carmel, you can see some of the beautiful hotels that they have over there. When I saw Mount Carmel, and then I remembered what Elijah was doing with those false prophets and Jezebel and the king over there. It was overwhelming when you see those places. It was for me. This one is Nazareth. I do believe this is Nazareth. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, is it? Huh? Yeah, I think this is Nazareth. You're right. Thank you. And this one is, remember it? This is, they call this Mary's house. Remember Mary was in Nazareth? Jesus grew up in Nazareth. This, they say, is their house. I don't believe it. Mary's house didn't look like this building 2,000 years ago. But anyway, they say this is Mary's place and this is where she lived, in Nazareth. This one is an interesting one for us. We were heading to Jerusalem, I believe, when we took this picture. This is where Delilah and Samson met. When he fell in love with Delilah against God's will. That they have a church building over there, and we didn't really go to the church. We just took the picture from far. This is in the Holy Sepulchre Church. The Holy Sepulchre Church is the church that was built on the tomb or on the cave where Jesus was buried. And it is very, very difficult to get to see because there are so many people. About 10,000 people go to Israel every single day. Every single day, 10,000 people go there. So we're trying to get in there and see the cave, the place where Jesus was buried. And I think there's another picture of that as well. No, this is different. This is Western Wall. How many of you have heard of that Western Wall? Yeah, a lot of people have heard it. A lot of people know. It's a temple. It's very, very, very sacred to the Jewish people. And if you see them facing the wall, they are worshiping. They are praying. And if they have a special prayer, what they do is they write what their prayer is, requesting God, and then there is a hole in that wall. They just put it in the wall. And every 2 years, those papers are given Jewish burial. They say whatever that means. They give it Jewish burial. They just don't burn it because it's a request from them, from the Jewish to God. And this one is again, we are close to, I believe, getting close to the place where Jesus was buried. You're going. One day we were in line for 3 hours, full 3 hours. So we came close to it, but they say, no, it's closing, it's over. You have to come back. And my wife said, we just really want to see this one. He said, well, God will understand you. So we did Sunday. We had to go another day where we went early and we were able to get in and see where Jesus was buried. We actually got into the cave where he was buried. It's a very surreal feeling again when you go there. A lot of people would want to touch that place. They want to do this, they want to do that. It's an amazing scene. This is the same thing. This is the church, inside the church of the Holy Sepulchre, the place where Jesus Christ was buried. This is where, you see that, where it says Simon of Cyrene. Simon of Cyrene, who was he? Who was the guy who helped Jesus to carry the cross? He told him to do that. This is actually, we're coming close to Via Dolorosa. That's through the road to Calvary where Jesus was going to be crucified. This is station number 5. There are many, many stations on Via Dolorosa. This is Via Dolorosa. This is the road to Calvary where he's going to be crucified. There are 14 stations. We were told, 14, actually we saw 14 stations. Station number one where Jesus was condemned to death. Station number 2 was where Pontius Pilate gave his famous speech. Here is the man. What did this man do to you? And said, I find no guilt in him. And then they said, crucify him, crucify him. And he said, I am free from his blood. And so he washed his hands to free himself from the judgment that will one day come upon him. Station number 3 is Jesus got really, really tired and he fell. That's where he fell. Station number 5 is Simon Cyrene that's where he takes the cross for Jesus. And then station number 6, he saw a woman comes and wipes the face of Jesus for him. And then he met a group of pious women. Station number 9 is Ethiopian monastery. Ethiopia has a church, a monastery, in both Jerusalem and also in Bethlehem. Ethiopia controls part of, Ethiopian Orthodox Church, I should say, controls part of the Holy Sepulchre. The ones who have stake in it are the Roman Catholic Church, the Armenian Church, the Greek Church, and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. And that's where that place is. And at station number 10, Jesus was disrobed. He was disrobed. His clothes was taken off. And then they nailed him to a cross and crucified him. It's an amazing place to see. There's a lot of shops on the right side, on the left side. They want to sell you. They want to sell you. This is mostly in the Arab area now, in the Arab area of Jerusalem. And they are very good at selling things. So they want to get, hey, you want to do this? You want to buy this? You want to buy this one? It's an amazing thing to see. This one is in Ethiopian monastery. And here is the Ethiopian monk you can see. And that beautiful young Ethiopian lady, I don't know what she's doing there, but she probably is serving him, cooking food for him, or things of that sort. I want to take this picture. He said, you can take no more picture now. That's enough. So I couldn't do no more. We are now in Bethlehem. this is the, right underneath here is the cave, the place where Jesus was born. And the church was built on that. It's called Church of the Nativity. It's very surreal feeling again when you see where Christ was actually born, where he was. It was a manger there. It was where cows and goats and sheep lived. And it's right under here. Now it's a beautiful, beautiful building. This church was built by Constantine, Emperor Constantine, in the 4th century, right after he converted to Christianity from paganism. It's beautiful, and it was destroyed a few times by the Muslims and by the Samaritans, but it was built and rebuilt many times, and now it really looks beautiful. The same thing again, same picture. This is Bethlehem, the city of Bethlehem. That's where Jesus was born. It's under Arab control. It used to be under Israeli control from 67 on, and 67, the war between Israel and the Arabs. Israel won, and they got all of the Western Bank, including Bethlehem. But when Rabin and Arafat, the Palestinian leader, they agreed to give a part of the Western Bank to be controlled by the Palestinians, and they are controlling part of it, not all of it. And the Bethlehem province is one the Arabs are in control. It's a beautiful city. This is another place right in the Nativity Church. Everybody, this is the Silver Star. Everybody wants to put their hands on this silver star. Right underneath that silver star is where Christ was supposed to have been born. Same thing. Same thing. The lady holding her husband up, putting her hand on the silver star. Same thing. We're going to now in Jerusalem. This is King David. This is Jerusalem, the model of the city of Jerusalem at the time of Jesus, when Jesus was here. And you can see the temple, Herod's temple that was built over there. And somewhere here you have this slum of Paul, where Jesus, the Paul of Siloam, where Jesus said, go wash your eyes in there. I can't see it clearly on here, but it's there. This is the city of Jerusalem at the time of Jesus. That lady is our guide. She was a terrific one. Now we're now standing on the slope, on the western slope of Mount Olives. Mount Olives has been mentioned many, many times, both in the Old and also in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, when David was, when a coup was made against David by his own son Absalom, he ran up to the Mount Olives and went to the Mount Olives, the top of the Mount Olives, and prayed to God, why did this have to happen to me? That's where he prayed, and of course, the coup fell and it did not go through, and David was back on his throne. And also, bad things have happened in the Bible on the Mount of Olives. One is King Solomon, the King Solomon, who was so wise, did something that is so foolish at times. He built the worship place for Chemosh and Moloch, the gods of the Ammonites and the Moabites over there, and then they were worshipped, and the glory of God departed from him at that time. So things of that sort have happened on Mount Olives. Mount Olives is a beautiful mountain. Jesus spent a lot of times over there, and in fact, the last week of his life, Jesus visited Mount Olives 3 times in 1 week. Number one was when he gave the so-called the Olivet discourse. That is when they came to him, he said, this, you can see the temple across from Mount Olive when you look into Jerusalem to the west. And the disciples came to him, when is the end of the world? And when are you coming, Master? And he said, you see at that building, not one stone will be left upon the other. It will only go down. And of course he was talking about himself. And then he told them about the foolish, the people who were waiting for him during the last time of the earth. And he said, listen, there are 5 foolish, 5 wise virgins. Both were Christians, I guess he's talking about. Both were Christians. Both groups were waiting. But some were more ready than others, because in the event, he comes in midnight. We need an oil in our lamps, and they had enough oil to see him. And that's what he said. And then he told them, just before the coming of Christ, there is going to be a lot of tribulation, a lot of suffering. And he said, were it not for the very elect, were it not shortened, if the time were not shortened for the very elect ones, even the elect ones will be deceived. So Jesus said there will be time of trouble, such as the world has never seen, just before he returns. And that's a discourse of Mount Olivet that Jesus gave his disciples. And he said, don't be fooled if they say Christ is here or Christ is there. For the coming of the Son of Man will be as the lightning strikes from the east to the west, and everybody can see it. And don't be fooled that he was giving a warning to the disciples, and by extension, of course, for us today, because our Lord's coming is 2,000 years closer than it was back then. So standing on the Mount Olives, it was an exhilarating experience for us, as we say, hey, here is the very place where Jesus stood. Here is the very place where he spoke all the things we have read and we have been studying before. And the second time Jesus was Mount Olivet was triumphal entry. We're talking about the last week now. Triumphal entry is when he was on the back of a donkey, and as he was going down on Mount Olivet, all the people, the disciples, they started singing, hallelujah, hallelujah. They saw all the miracles he did. They thought he was going to declare his kingdom. This is it, folks. And we're going to be the chosen people of Israel. Will be the privileged ones. But that's not the kind of freedom Jesus wanted to give them. They didn't understand. So as he came in, as he was going down, they really were happy. And that's the triumphal entry of Jerusalem. And the third time he was on that mountain was when he went to Gethsemane, the Garden of Gethsemane with his disciples. This was the last night, after the last meal with his disciples, and when he washed their feet and set an institution of the new covenant. The new covenant. You do likewise to remember me, all of what happened at the Last Supper meeting. And that's the last time he was there. And the last time Jesus stood on Mount Olives was at the time of his ascension, post-crucifixion and post-resurrection. And he was on the mountain right on the top of it. And I think we'll see another one later on. Right on the top of it. And he told them, and he blessed them. And as he was blessing him, the cloud came and received him, and he was gone to his Father to prepare a dwelling place for us. Eye has not seen, says Paul, such a place, nor have we been able to imagine what it looks like, what Jesus is doing for us right now. And so Jesus was on Mount Olive the last time, and as the disciples were intensely looking at what happened, maybe it was like a dream to them. They didn't really, what's going on? And as they were doing that, and then an angel came and said, "What? Ye men of Galilee, why do you stand here gazing up to heaven?
For the same Jesus you saw going up also shall come back in like manner as you have seen him go up. That's our hope, and that's our thrilling hope. So may that blessed day be sooner and sooner. This is Masada. I think it's gone out of its normal sequence, but this is Masada. I don't know how many of you have heard of Masada. Masada is not mentioned in the Bible itself many times. It's a very tall mountain, very, very tall, very, very steep, very steep. And after the destruction of the Temple of Jerusalem in 70 AD, some of the zealots, the Jewish who were zealots, they said, we're not going to give up. We're not going to give ourselves to the Romans. Let's run to Masada. That's way, way south of Israel. They went over there and they went to the mountain. There are about 1,000 of them. And they resisted. They resisted the Romans for a long time. Finally, it came to the end. They recognized we're not going to be able to survive this one. But they said, we're not going to surrender to the Romans. And then they went home. They said, here is what we're going to do. We're going to kill ourselves. So they killed their children, they killed their wives, they killed themselves. 1,000 of them, they were dead. They committed suicide because they did not want to surrender to the Romans on Mount Masada. This is very close to the Red Sea. I'm not Red Sea, the Dead Sea, I'm sorry. This is the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea is an amazing place. A lot of people go there to use the Dead Sea mud to wash in it. And they say it will heal a lot of people's illness. And is that right? You guys have, those who have been there, Robert and his wife know it. They pay thousands of dollars to go there to do this work. Every year we were told. This is Mount Gilead. Remember the song, there is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. We saw it from above. And this is in Jordan now. Mount Gilead is in Jordan, not in Israel. This is the Mount of Beatitude, the one he just read us, Matthew 5, 1 to 11, that Roger read. This is the place where he sat down and they gathered together on this mountain. They have a church over there now, and blessed are the poor in the spirit, and blessed are those, blessed. He said those, and this is the Beatitude, the mountain of blessing. This is Qumran. This is the place. Remember, have you ever heard of the scroll of the Dead Sea? The Dead Sea Scroll were found in the holes in these mountains, not too far from the Dead Sea, right? The Dead Sea is called by the Dead Sea. It's a huge mountain. It's very, very tall, very imposing sometimes. Okay, this one is Magdalena, and I'm sure you know Magdalena. Magdalena, when I say Magdalena, the guy said, this is Magdalena. What comes to your mind when you hear the word Magdalena? Mary Magdalene. That's where Mary Magdalene lived. So we're heading to the Sea of Galilee now. And this was actually dug archaeologically, and somebody was going to build a huge hotel in that area. And when as they were digging, they found antiquities right in the ground that went back 2,000 years ago to Mary Magdalene. And by law in Israel, if you find while digging any antiquity, you cannot keep digging on. You have to go and tell the Ministry of Antiquity. And that's when they did. And of course, they dug and they found a lot of what the Bible says about Mary Magdalene in that place. And now they have built places to live in a small village. And so this is Magdalena. We're coming close to the Galilee, Sea of Galilee now. You can see it from afar. And this is the Sea of Galilee. The mountain you see up there is the Golan Heights. You've heard of the Golan Heights, I'm sure. The Golan Heights, before 1967 Arab-Israeli war, was part of Syria. And but in 67, Israel won the war, and they took this the Golan Heights, and about 50 miles beyond. Before 67, Israel was having real trouble because they sit here on this mountain, and down in the valley, they shoot the Israelis there. Really, it was a really difficult time for the Israelis before 67. Now, this is the Golan Heights. It is not going to be given back. That's what Israel said. Because we do not want to commit suicide, we will not give this back. And this one is the place we were told. This one is where Jesus fed the 5,000 people. And with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. He fed how many people? 5,000 people, plus women and children. Women were not counted back then. And then they have left over much more. This is the same local area. This is the boat, they say, that Jesus and his disciples used. It was found about 25 years ago from way deep under the sea, close to the seabed. And Israel spent a lot of money to get out this thing out of there and put it in a place where it can be preserved. You cannot come close to it, you cannot touch it, and this is a treasure for the Israelis. They believe this is the boat Jesus and his disciples used. Okay. This is, we're in Capernaum now. This is the synagogue. We were told that Jesus actually preached it. Not in this one, because it had to be dug and had to be renovated, all that kind of thing. But here, when Jesus came to Capernaum, they say he was given a scroll and he read Isaiah 61, where it says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor, to give sight to the blind, and to give freedom to the oppressed. And Jesus is actually introducing himself here as the divine, as God, that God has sent him. He is the Messiah. He is the anointed. This is the synagogue they say he preached in. That same area, this is Capernaum. You're looking at Capernaum now. Capernaum is where Jesus lived. You remember? Peter lived, and Jesus went to Peter's house, and she was sick with fever, and Jesus healed her, and she stood up and started serving Jesus and all who were with it. And this building is the Greek Orthodox Church. Everybody here, all Greeks and all Ethiopians and all of them, they have churches everywhere. Okay. This one is Capernaum as well. And they think this one is also a synagogue, a Jewish synagogue. This is a replica of the boat Jesus and his disciples used. And we sailed on this replica on the Sea of Galilee. Again, as we were in there, some people were praying, and it was a surreal feeling. So the operator of the little boat said, who would want to read Matthew 5, 1 to 10, 1 to 15, the Beatitudes, or what Jesus said? And nobody was willing to read. Finally, Tzagana said, I will do it. And so she read, and everybody was blessed, and they say they liked what she read. It was amazing. Around this area, across from the sea, they told us this was where Jesus healed the madman. Right across from there. Okay. And this is Petra. I don't know if you guys have been to Petra. Petra is an amazing place. It's one of the 7 wonders of the world. This is Mount Tabor. Mount Tabor, or Mount of Transfiguration, as it is sometimes called. It's a huge mountain. It's actually a chain of mountains. It's not just one, a ridge of mountains. And the guy told us this is very important to the Jewish faith as well. And I said, why is that? Because Jesus was in the middle, Elijah was on the right, and Moses was on the left. They said it's important to us because Elijah was the one who preached there is only one true God. Remember what he did on Mount Carmel against the Jezebel and her husband Ahab and all of those. He said there is only one God, one God. And they had forgotten the idea of that one God. And so, and also she said Moses is important because he liberated from Egyptian bondage. And Jesus is important, they say, because he took Judaism into a different religion. Right? They don't recognize it. They love to tell about Jesus. When they know it, they know about Jesus, and they love to tell about Jesus, but they do not take him, they do not accept him as the God who actually liberated them from the bondage from Egypt, in Egyptian bondage. Again, this is Nazareth. This is Petra, huge mountain that was dug underneath. They had Nabateans, they called the Yemenis. Many years before the coming of Christ, they lived in this cave. And how they did that and how they were able to curve what out of the stone, I do not. It's a miracle, they say. This is the same thing. Same thing. Same thing. This is another view of, now we're looking from the other direction of Mount Olives. You're looking at from Jerusalem, from the east side to the west. This is how it is. And what you see down here is a grave about 3,000 years old, saying 3,000 years. And that's where probably David was buried, and a lot of Jewish people were buried for 3,000 years now. So Mount Olives is a burial place for the Jewish people. It's absolutely amazing. This is, when you stand on Mount Olives, you look west side, you will see these 2 important buildings. This is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the big one. The church on the grave of was built on the grave of Jesus, where Jesus was supposed to have been buried. And this is, how many of you have heard of the Dome of the Rocks? Yeah, that's right, the Dome of the Rocks. This is the Muslim, the Muslims' 3rd or 2nd holiest place. They say actually Muhammad traveled in one night from Mecca to this particular place one night. God took him, and then they say Muhammad went directly to the throne of God and saw 24,000 prophets, and he was given the authority to do what he did. Well, take it for what it is. Now, this is Mount Moriah. You can see on Mount Moriah. That's a very place where Isaac was to be sacrificed. But the Muslims say here was where Ishmael was to be sacrificed by Abraham, not Isaac. They say that's another thing. We went to this place. We want to say, "Can we go in?" He said, "Are you a Muslim?" I said, "No." He said, if you want to be a Muslim right now, I can do it. You can go in. What do you do to do that? All you have to do is, Allah is great, Muhammad is his last prophet, and you have two witnesses. And then if you do that, I'll let you get in. I say, I'm a Christian, I cannot deny my Lord. So that's where that stood. But this is an amazing building. What you see, that gold is real gold. real God. Well, I had a little time with the camel over there. And this is Petra again. In Petra, you can see some of those little, what looks like a hole, are actually burial places for ancient Nabateans or Yemenis who had this place. A lot of people over there, they wouldn't rate you to ride on this camel's back, and they bother you a lot. Again, we're coming to the western wall. Same thing. This is in Edom, the kingdom of Edomites. This is where it is actually a desert. And the people were thirsty and they said, we need water now. And God said, hey, that you do it once. And Moses said, hey, let me see that. Hey, twice. And because of that, they say that is the story. How true that is, I do not know. But maybe this is just a commercial thing for them. I do not know. But it was there. And the water is actually coming today from the mountain, up in the mountain. This is in the valley. And you can drink that water, nothing happens. And I did drink that water, nothing happened. It's as clear as it can be. It has not been processed. This is the city of Jerusalem from the Mount Olives. This is on Mount Nebo. Mount Nebo, you remember what happened on Mount Nebo? Moses went up there and looked across, and he could see the promised land. But because of what he did by disobeying God, he lost the opportunity to see the promised land, at least on earth anyway. But this is the road that takes you to Mount Nebo, or Mount Pisgah, as it is sometimes called. And there is a church over there, built in honor of Moses on this particular church. It's an old church. It's an amazing place again, Mount Pisgah. This is for you. I'm sure you know this gentleman in the Red Sea. I had to do my own healing thing as well. So I used the mud to clean myself off of it. That's what it is. Thank you so much.